Hey guys, welcome to this channel. Today I am going to be sharing my story, and no, I'm not sure how to start off this video. It's just been really hard, and I just got enough courage to actually share it. My husband was actually going to be leaving that November 1st through 7th. He was going to be leaving to go out of town. So with that being said, I told Finn, which is my type 1, that, well, this is pre-type 1. So before he got diagnosed with type 1, I told him that he could sleep with me because that's our little way to treat him when somebody goes out of town. When one of the parents go out of town, he gets to sleep with us. So I told him he could sleep with me that week, and he was really excited. So during that whole week, he had school, but I did notice at night he would tell me that he was really thirsty. So I didn't think anything of it. It was just one time a night. I would have a little glass of water beside my nightstand, and he would just drink it. And then he would tell me that he needed to go pee that same night after he drank all that water. So I just figured, maybe he just drank a lot of water and he just needed to go use the bathroom, because that's usually what happens even if you're not diagnosed with type 1. So that happened throughout the whole week. And then I also noticed when I picked him up from school that he always had to go to the bathroom on our way home from school. And our way home from school is about 15 minutes from the school to our house. And so this was Monday through Friday. So my husband comes back Friday afternoon from out of town, and the kids were going to go spend the night at Mimi's house. And so that Friday night. And so the kids went off and spent the night Friday night. And then Saturday morning, I get a phone call from Mimi saying that Finn wants to get picked up. And this is very odd, because he never wants to get picked up early from Mimi's house. I mean, what kid wants to get picked up early from their grandma's house, right? So I thought that was really odd. So I got there and she said he just had to go use the bathroom a whole lot tonight. And she said, I was so frightened that I almost called you to come pick him up. And she said also he was just drinking so much water, like excess water. And I said, well, he's been drinking water at least once a night this whole week, and he's been going to use the bathroom just once per night this whole entire week. And she said, no, it was more than once. She said it was about 5 times or so that he was thirsty, and then he had to go use the restroom. And I said, okay, well, that's strange. And she said, yeah, you might want to take him to the pediatrician and go get checked out. And I agreed with her. I was like, okay, yeah, this has been going on for about a week. He definitely needs to go get checked out, because this is just, abnormal stuff. So then I get home Saturday morning and I get a text from Mimi, and she said, hey, you might want to check his blood sugar level. So I'm like, okay. So I Googled why kids are so thirsty, or I Googled something like that. And the first thing that popped up was that your child might have type 1 diabetes. And I was like, no, this is silly. Nobody in my family has type 1. This is just, crazy. I didn't think so. But everything that I kept on looking up just kept on leading into diabetes. I was like, okay. So I packed Finn up and we went to CVS, and I tried looking at their glucose meters and everything, and I was overwhelmed. So I remember going over to the pharmacy, and one of the workers over there helped me. I was like, I don't know what to get here. I'm just trying to measure his blood sugar levels. And so she helped me out with picking out everything. I remember she grabbed me the meter and the test strips. So I was like, okay, this is everything I need. She's like, yep, that should be everything you need. So we came home and I read the entire pamphlet on how to use the meter. how to put the test strips in. And then like when it actually came time to do it, I was like, I don't have a needle in the little finger poker. And I had no idea what this stuff was at the time, of course. This is all new to me. So then I had to read about, you know, the little finger poker, how you put the needle in there. And so I finally got all that stuff together, and then comes the time, I'm like, hey Finn, I need to poke your finger so we can see if you're sick or not. And he was like, what? And so, I mean, it took him a few times, and nobody wants to get pricked on their finger. It took him a few times for him to say yes. So the first time I pricked it, the first reading was 444. And I was like, I didn't even know. I didn't know what good blood sugar levels were, nothing like that. So I Googled it real quick, and it said 444 was extremely high, and normal glucose levels are between 90 and, you know, 150 or something like that. And I was like, maybe I didn't do it right. That was my first thought. I was like, maybe I didn't do it right because this is my first time. So then I went back to Finn and I said, Finn, can I poke your finger one more time? He's like, what? I was like, I know. I said, I just don't think I did this right. Let mama do it one more time. So he let me do it one more time. And then the next reading, I think, was like 346. And I was like, okay, so maybe it is correct that his blood sugar's high. So I was like, you know what? Let me prick myself. So I decided to do myself, and I came back at 89. And so I said, okay, so this meter is working. My levels are correct, but his levels are way, way high. So I immediately called my husband because he was not home at the time. I called him and I said, hey, I think we need to take him to the emergency room because his blood sugar levels are reading 346 and 444. And I said, I just pricked mine and mine was reading 89. I was like, I don't know anything about this, but I just Googled it and it said that we need to take him to the emergency room right away and get this taken care of. And so he was like, okay, well, I'll come home right away, and we'll go ahead and take him to the emergency room. My husband's dad is a type 2 diabetic. And so my husband called him, and he immediately came over. He just lives right beside us. He immediately came over and he said, yeah, that's really high. You know, he said usually his highest is around 200. He said he definitely needs to get to the emergency room and get taken care of or looked at. So we're like, okay. So I'm like freaking out, and Finn's still inside the house at this time. I just remember being so freaked out, but I was praying. That's the first thing I did. I was like, God, no matter what happens, I am okay with it because this is part of your plan. And I specifically remembered praying that prayer. And I still felt overwhelmed, but, you know, full of anticipation, not knowing what's going to happen or what's wrong with my child. But I just remember praying that, and it calmed me down a little bit. So then my husband finally gets home. He showers up, and we start heading to one of the emergency rooms, bigger emergency rooms around us. And we went in there, and the wait was like 2 hours. I was like, okay, I don't think so. We told them what was going on, and they were like, yeah, it's still 2 hour wait. So we're like, okay, so we'll drive to a different hospital. So we went to a different hospital, and they got him in within an hour or so, maybe less. And I remember the first things they asked me, because I could only go to the back with him because it's, you know, COVID stuff, only one parent allowed in the back. So my husband stayed in the waiting room. And I remember them asking me, has he been diagnosed with diabetes? I was like, no, I just don't know what's going on with him, that this is his blood sugar levels. And so they're like, okay. So what they did was they went ahead and pricked his finger, of course, and he was still in the high 300s. And so they just quietly, you know, the nurse quietly went out of the room. And as soon as she left, the doctor came in. So I was like, okay, there's something going on here. Because usually doctors don't come in that fast after a nurse. Everybody knows that. So he comes in and he was like, well, we're going to do some blood tests on him. And I said, does that mean you got to like put an IV in him and withdraw some blood? He said, yep. I was like, okay, because you know, my 6-year-old is not going to do so well with this. We ended up having to wrap him up in a bed sheet because he was going ballistic in this tiny little room. So we had to wrap him up in bed sheet and leave one arm out and withdraw blood that way. He did calm down, thank goodness. I'm getting hot just thinking about it because it was so stressful. So we waited a few minutes, you know, his IV was still in him. I did bring his Nintendo Switch with him, which was a great thing because I knew it was gonna take some time. So I was prepared. I brought his Nintendo Switch, so he was content with playing his Switch, and he still had the IV in him. And so things kind of moved quickly from there. So they brought in an IV bag full of saline. They started hooking him up, and then the blood results came back, and the doctor came back, and he said, this is a true type 1 diabetes. And I was like, what? He said, your son is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. His blood results come back like that. And I had my husband on speaker because he couldn't be in there. And as soon as I heard him say that, I just kind of broke down. I lied. I didn't kind of break down. I broke down. I was in tears. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was drooling a little bit. I was a mess. I didn't hear anything else he said to me. I think he was trying to explain to me what type 1 was, but I obviously didn't even know what type 1 was. I just knew that this was going to be a lifelong thing because it doesn't go away, and that's all I knew. So I was just overwhelmed. I just blocked everything out of my ears. And so he left. The nurse came in immediately afterwards, and she saw me just doing the ugly cry. And she said, you can go ahead and just call your husband and come back here. She said, we're going to make a few calls, but he needs to get transferred to a different hospital for pediatrician doctors. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We've been there a few times to that hospital. And so he had to take the ambulance to a different hospital. And that was still scary for him. He was still shedding a few tears because he was confused as me. We didn't know what was going to happen next. And so they took him to the PICU immediately, and they, to the new hospital, and they did all his checkups there, pricked his finger again. I think he got finger pricked like 100 times that day, I swear. The doctor in the PICU said, oh yeah, he's doing much better. His sugar levels they're good now, so we're gonna transfer him to a regular room. And so we stayed in the regular room overnight, which he really enjoyed it. Weirdly, oddly, he enjoyed it. Of course, they came in every few hours to check his sugar levels, make sure, everything was okay. And then the next day they educated me on like insulin and what we should expect next, going to the endo next. And it was just like, okay. But I remember them telling me that, from now on, you do have to count his carb, because he's going to eventually be carb to insulin ratio, or insulin to carb ratio, however you guys want to say it. So I was like, okay, well, I did do the keto diet for a year or so I know how to count carbs. And they said, oh, okay, well, that's going to be really good for you, really easy for you to start off with. And it has been. But after that, we got released from the hospital. And then I remember we went in Saturday to the emergency room and got released Sunday night, and we came home and slept in our beds. It felt so nice. But Monday morning, around 7:30, we had to be at the endo doctor's office to get educated. Now I'm brave enough to tell the story without crying, but I wanted to make the story earlier to, share with everybody that my story might be similar to yours, or your story might be similar to mine, but we're all going through this together. Like, as a mom or parent, whatever, we're all going through this together. It's been a little bit over a month now that he's been diagnosed. He actually was diagnosed on, I think it was National Diabetics Day. So November 14th, he was diagnosed. So that is my story of Finn's diagnosis. He just turned 6 years old in October. And so he has been doing great, but we'll be trying to publish more videos just like this and sharing our story. And I hope you guys enjoy us on our type 1 diabetics journey. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.